And we have to consider that in Florida dealing with this storm, Hurricane Ian wasn't too long ago, and it damaged
just 2 months ago.
a lot of infrastructure there. And so as we speak, hundreds of thousands of Florida residents are without power as Nicole pummels the state.
Officials have shut down airports and ordered evacuations as strong winds and heavy rain moves across the state. Storms of this size are so late in the year, they're extremely rare. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis addressed Nicole's arrival in the aftermath of Hurricane Ian, which was devastating the state, and people are still trying to clean up after.
This is obviously not as significant a storm as Hurricane Ian was, but coming on the heels of that, you're seeing communities, particularly in the Volusia County area, where you had a lot of that erosion on the coastline. This has put some of those structures in jeopardy, and they've been working very hard to make sure everybody's safe.
Joining us now from Cape Canaveral, Florida, is CBS News correspondent Elise Preston, who I believe wrote out this storm as it made landfall. Elise, what was that experience like, and what type of damage are you seeing where you are now?
Good afternoon to you, Errol and Lana. We were in Cape Canaveral. We actually just came down, and we're in Volusia County, which is where you just heard the governor speak about. I want to step out the way so you can see the structure. The governor mentioned erosion, and you can see it right here where we are at this building. This is a safety, or it was a safety and rescue building right here along the beach here in Volusia County, and you can see it has crumbled into the water following Nicole. Now, beach erosion has been a problem along the Florida East Coast for quite a while. And at the beginning of the week, knowing that the storm was coming, the Volusia County Sheriff, he mentioned that there were 22 buildings that were in danger, that were deemed structurally unsafe. So they were very worried that this would happen. As you can see, the fear did happen. Several homes have also reportedly fallen to the ocean. Heartbreaking. Cannot even imagine what those families are going through. But getting out to this area right here was also very difficult. On the way here, we saw a ton of damage. There were signs that were twisted, warped off buildings, and just kind of laying in the streets. We also saw quite a few down power lines, or power lines that were like loose and hanging from where they should have been. Sadly, we just received a report that at least one person has died. They were electrocuted from a down power line. Another person is in the hospital this afternoon battling after they were also shocked by a down power line. But you asked me, Errol, what was it like to ride out that storm? You could hear howling winds and hard rain throughout the night. We were driving in various parts of Florida. I was definitely scared, kind of breathing a little differently because it was just very hard to see. The hotel that we were staying at, we were with a ton of people who were brought in from various states to help with power outages. Our own hotel lost power. It flickered throughout the morning, and then earlier or later this morning, the power just went out. We had no lights in our rooms. So definitely a lot going on from what we were seeing. But as you can see, a lot of people are just suffering so much. There are homes that are in the ocean. So can't even imagine what those families are going through.
Yeah. Elise, Errol and I were discussing how awful this is for residents of Florida who were still recovering from Hurricane Ian. Can you tell us more about what Governor DeSantis said in that press conference and how state and federal officials are responding to this dual challenge?
Well, Lana, we know from Hurricane Ian that $47 billion worth of insured damage, or damage for insured losses, happened. So a lot of damage already just weeks ago. When we were talking to families yesterday, they were exhausted. They said that they just went through this. With Florida, they're no stranger to storms, but they were prepping. They were already kind of prepared because they had just seen a storm. But there is still a concern that some flooding could happen because parts of Florida are still drying out. The water just started to recede in some parts of Florida. We know that places a little further north of where we are, there are reports of flooding there in cities like St. Augustine. So that is a concern. As far as the recovery efforts, the state has authorized about 17,000 service workers here to help restore power. They're deployed and waiting and working to try to get power back on to those those families who are without power. About 250 Department of Transportation workers are working right now to try to inspect bridges and roads. Part of the reason why we couldn't get to this area is because the bridges were shut down. They were flooded, so many, and we're on a barrier island. So a lot of recovery work right now. We also know that President Biden has authorized the federal help to help with these counties and the state that is just completely still drying out from Hurricane Ian. About 45 counties declared states of emergency ahead of Tropical Storm, what is now Tropical Storm Nicole.
Well, our thanks to you, and of course, please share our thanks to the crew as well. You know, you folks head to where other folks flee so we can bring everybody these on-the-ground reports. We certainly appreciate it. Elise, thank you.
Thanks, Elise.